Khamzat. Dricus says he's coming in there to meet your wrestling with his own. Is his wrestling as good as yours?
You know already, guys, who is the best, guys. It's my time. Take over. It's UFC, man.
Damn, Dricus, 7 seconds? That's all it took for Khamzat to shoot, drag, suffocate, and essentially control the entire thing. This wasn't much of a fight, honestly. It was more like watching a wrestling seminar. But fuck it, we're gonna break this shit down anyway. Alright, so first things first. I primarily train boxing. So to say that I was a little bit disappointed when I didn't see them throw hands, that's a bit of an understatement. However, as I get more into UFC, MMA, I am starting to notice those smaller, finer details, right? That, you know, people who train MMA have to work through. And essentially just seeing Dricus get ragdolled and essentially have no control over what's happening, and seeing him take those brutal knees to the thigh, I just kept thinking to myself, fuck. Making me feel like I should have joined wrestling in high school. Alright, let's see what happened. So UFC 319 happened in my hometown, Chicago, United Center. Du Plessis essentially was entering the UFC as the middleweight champ. He's defended it twice. And then here you have Khamzat, or Borz, which I prefer to call him because it's easier. He came in 14-0. He was propping up his 3-division title chase fantasy.
Go down again 170. Who is the champ there? Australian guy. Would be a good fight for me and could take the belt there. If I go up and there is Ankalaev and Alex Pereira, they're fighting now. Who is winning can fight for that belt as well.
He then proceeds to secure the title by unanimous decision, or aka total dominance, and even manages to set a new middleweight record of ground control time, which I believe is 21 minutes and 40 seconds, which is absolutely insane. So I guess the main point of this video is that Khamzat didn't just get a win, right? He dominated through technique, timing. But alright, let's quickly talk about the first round. 7 seconds in, and right here is the moment that the game was over essentially for Dricus. Khamzat didn't even need to go ahead and test his striking, right? Because why the hell would he need to? All he needed to do was shoot, get the underhook, and Dricus was basically lost from there. Now, I'm not here to judge Dricus or say that I have some holy grail advice, because I'm not a wrestler. But from a fan perspective, someone that is getting into the sport, it's just incredible for me to see these numbers. 529 to 45. That's not just lopsided. That's coming close to potentially abuse. And every one of these shots that Khamzat was giving Dricus, again, knees to the thigh. Brutal. I don't want to feel that ever. But I can imagine that every single minute of ground control, every single shot is just chipping away at his gas tank. Honestly, his will, probably everything. His entire game plan. Let's also mention that crucifix trap. Again, just myself personally putting myself in that position. If I essentially had no control of both of my arms, right? Because you see that arm, once it's pinned, you're not really defending. You're essentially at the will of whoever is controlling you. And luckily for Dricus, Khamzat wasn't really looking for a flashy knockout. He was looking to essentially make Dricus feel hopeless, which you could argue is a little bit scarier. But just taking a quick look at the judges' scorecard, 54s all around. Now in the 5th round, to me, it seemed like Dricus actually came alive a little bit. If he was able to do that the other rounds as well, I think it would have still been a very close match. However, Khamzat would have still edged out. It's not like Khamzat is not a good striker. He is. But his wrestling is apparently just so much better than that. As for Borz, this wasn't just him dethroning the current champion. It was actually a statement to the middleweight division as to what exactly they have to do in order to win, right? Now everyone has to go back to the drawing board and essentially ask themselves, are we capable of defending his takedowns? Are we capable of surviving long enough? Or are we able to alter the fight in a way that it doesn't go to the ground? Which from what we just saw, seems unlikely. As for Du Plessis, it's a little bit odd seeing someone who go from champ to honestly just being completely outclassed. But I do look forward to seeing Dricus fight again. He does have a bit of a awkward striking style that is kind of fun to watch. And I do ask myself, if Dricus does have a rematch with Khamzat at some point, right? Will he be able to prepare in a sufficiently good enough way to stuff the takedowns? As I was watching the fight, I kept hearing both Joe Rogan and DC provide their input, right? Obviously, DC, great wrestler in his own right. So I was personally learning while I was watching the fight. So it would be very interesting to see if Dricus gets a really high-level wrestling coach to help him with all of these, I guess you can say, mistakes that he did during the fight, like not controlling the wrist. DC said he wasn't posting up his left leg when he was scrambling, and to see if he could force the fight to be fought standing up and maybe perhaps throw less kicks and making himself vulnerable to those takedowns. So in the end, even though I didn't get the fight that I wanted, I probably got the fight that I needed to watch and get the wake-up call that I need to learn some wrestling. But I guess you tell me, what's next for Borz? Do you think he'll consider moving to lightweight and doing it all over again there? Or do you think there's someone in middleweight that could step up and stop him now? If you do think there's someone who could stop him, drop their names in the comments because I need names. And yeah, let me know.